Welcome to the Inferno Primer CT side. Again, nothing too crazy, but gonna be showing a lot of utility off because utility is super important on Inferno. Feel free to watch the T side of Inferno Primer after or before, sometime at all, because knowing how to play T side Inferno will help you play CT side, and knowing how CT side works also help you on playing T side. So let's start off with Banana. And Banana, as I've mentioned in the T-side video, is heavily focused on banana control. Now, you don't necessarily need to get banana control every round. You don't need to send 3 people to get it and throw utility. You can play completely passive, and that's completely okay, but it is good to throw it in every once in a while to punish Ts that are maybe a little too comfortable trying to come into banana. Now, what you want to do is get a smoke that lands at the bottom of the ramp here. Something along the lines of this is good enough. And what you also want to do in conjunction with that smoke is throw a close molly and a deeper molly. So these are probably the 2 mollies you want to throw. They won't necessarily cover all of banana because you will have to worry about this left cubby here and behind logs. And essentially how deep you throw your deep molly will determine what you really need to clear. It's very difficult to get a molly that spreads into both these corners here and the cubby here, so just keep that in mind. Now, I don't have a specific lineup for either of these mollies, but for a deep molly, you can kind of just hug this wall and aim somewhere in this general vicinity, and you'll get it in deep molly. Right. You can adjust this to your liking if you want it to be a little deeper to try to hit some of these corners, or you could just use utility and clear it yourself, like pushing, because you do want to push when you get banana control. As for a close molly, you can just literally throw it on the ground and you'll be fine in like 99% of situations. Something that I've seen a few times is instead of coming to the corner and throwing your close molly, you try to throw one that lands you try to throw one from around here. So what I've seen is something along the lines of hugging this wall here and aiming, I believe, at this general area here, like where the roof lip meets the wall, give or take, and then run forward and jump throw. Maybe aim a little lower, something along those lines. But either way, if you can get this right, this is going to be a close molly that lands even faster than what you would normally do. And what you can do with this is throw this molly, and now you have time to throw a deep smoke, which basically like gives you the extra time you need to kind of come out here and, you know, push and clear things. So that's the basic idea of banana control. How exactly you want to do this is really up to you, but more often than not, just throwing 2 mollies here is going to be more than enough to get banana control along with that smoke down there. You'll see, especially in pro play, teams will nade logs because that's like one of the 2 spots you have to be in. Or they'll nade into the left cubby over there, and I believe they bounce it off the wall. Maybe not. Okay, something like that. So throwing it to the left of this pillar here, that's very common. Or that's a good way to try to hit one of these corners here. And once you have banana control, you actually want to set up in a way to allow yourself to maintain this control and force CTs or force Ts to use utility to clear you out. So normally what you would see is a re-smoke over here so that you can actually fully clear these angles here. And then you can do some kind of crossfire setup or bait and switch setup where you have, let's say, like a player logs and a player behind half wall ready. Or you can just have an AWPer post up here or even on top of the wall and then stack for A, knowing that the Ts are going to have to come into you, either burning a flash or just dry peeking you, and you can usually get away in time before the Ts can like actually push you and punish you. You'll still have a flash so you can stall any really hard pushes, and ideally a rotate should be coming in somewhere from the A-bomb site to the B-bomb site. Now, you don't have to play aggressive, like I mentioned before. You can play extremely passive, or you can just spot and fall back. Now, if you're a good AWPer, what you can do is go for a pick like this, And what'll happen usually is you'll usually catch someone right around here if they're pushing you. Not always. You can go for a straight car peek, which is dangerous because it's commonly mollied, and because it's somewhat common for Ts to hold something like this or here to punish that kind of peek. Alternatively, you can just hold the corner like this, really safe, and go for that cross pick, but just be aware if you hold this angle, you have to be worried about someone jumping behind logs on top of it and catching you right there. You'll barely see their head and they'll barely see your head, but it's also like you can both shoot each other essentially. You can also get pre-fired here, so just be careful if you're going to play this corner. Now, if you're playing passive, you want to hold on to your utility. Ideally, you want to hold on to your smokes, your 2 smokes on the B-bomb site until about 1 minute. Any earlier than like a minute 15, that's when it starts to get a little scary once it comes into the later parts of the round, because you're going to burn 2 smokes. There's going to be like 40 seconds left, and they can still easily hit you, and it's hard for you to stop it. You can molly them, but that's not going to burn enough time for before the site gets overrun, essentially. And it's a really important concept that you need to understand if you're playing a passive B setup, or even after you get banana control and you get pushed back. If you still have 2 smokes, you want to hold on to them until about a minute, because each smoke lasts about 20 seconds, give or take. So if you burn 2 smokes, they'll have about 25 seconds to execute. And if you have a maul, you burn them down to like 15 or 18 seconds, I think it is. So the math just works out to the point where they're going to have to execute into a really bad position, either running through a molly or running through your smoke. And if you still have a flash, you can just throw a flash off the tree while hugging it like that, aim a little high, and this will catch just about everybody. So it's really important that you use your utility properly when you're playing the B side of the map. On top of that, you want to make sure you can actually throw good smokes from wherever you're playing. I commonly play CT, so I can hug this wall here and I know where to aim to make it so that the smoke lands dead center. And you want it to land dead center, obviously, because you don't want to have gaps. If you have a gap, the CTs can execute through it, and it's going to be bad for you. Now, good flashes that you would want to know for the B side of things is the car flash, which is going to be really good for your banana control, or just any like straight up car peek. This allows someone to come here, or come here, either awping or rifling, and look for a pick with a flash that'll blind just about everybody. It's just like that. You kind of hug this corner right here, not too specifically, and aim under this corner where the building meets the roof, and a little bit out, obviously, and left click throw. This is going to catch a lot of spots, and it's not the easiest thing to see or react to, especially if you're focused, if your eyes are focused where my crosshair is, which is like, you know, your common CT peak angles. And it also does not really blind your teammate that's over here, or he may even be over here. Finally, we have the coffin flash. You're going to stand in this corner of coffin, so you are exposed from this angle, but you need to play around that. And you want to aim at the right tip of that antenna there. You can also aim in the center, but not in between the center and the right tip, because if you do, you're going to hit a random chimney that's like over there, and that won't work. So either the right side or the center. And this is a very good pop flash for re-aggressing into top of banana. This is essentially unreactable, as I'll demonstrate right here. So you can't react to that. It works for that corner, this awkward corner here, and obviously if you're in this area here, it's gonna catch you pretty hard. Now moving on to mid, there's not too many set nades you really need to know. There is a mid control utility set that you can throw. Check out pro chat number 24 where EG does this. But it's basically that, and I believe this. Yeah. This is pretty good mid control. You only have to worry about this. You can throw that if you want, along with that flash right there. That's a very nice flash to catch this corner here. But that's a little more coordinated. You want to tell your team that you're doing it so that you can peek alt. But you just want to make sure you can smoke mid again from wherever you're playing and make sure there's no gaps. This is a very underappreciated skill, being able to smoke mid effectively and not leave any gaps. Because if you leave gaps, obviously Ts will creep through it and kind of surprise you because you thought your smoke was good. There's nothing too specific about playing top mid, although you do want to make sure that your porch player and your arch player are on the same page so that you're not awkwardly fighting one shot at a time, or one spot at a time. Alright, so if you're holding an angle here, but your arch opper is fallen back to this angle, there's no reason for you as a porch player to be up there. So you want to fall back to the site as well. Now this is going to inevitably happen once the T's get mid control. Like I mentioned in the T side of the primer, something along the lines of this is going to happen. I missed that molly. But something along the lines of that is going to happen, so if this does start happening to you, get ready to fall back. There's not really any point in sticking around for too long because you're going to be fighting this spot solo. Now, if you're the arch player, you're probably going to be opping. You don't have to be, but oppers will typically play here. And basically what you want to do is hold an angle, take a shot, fall back. You can fall back to this position here. You can post up for like a split second before they peek you. Take a shot, fall back. And repeat this process over and over until you're basically like here, and then you can fall back into here. T probably won't chase you that far, and you'll have a B rotate anyway, if that does happen. But you want to remain elusive as an opper, especially with these nerfs to the crouch acceleration thing. So one of the most difficult problems you're going to be facing as a arch player is having to get smoked off the entire map. So you're going to get smoked off there. You're going to get smoked off Moto specifically, and then also smoked off Arch. And the problem is that you're going to have to either run through a smoke or let your team fight 2v however much it is on this part of the map. Maybe it's 2v5, 2v4, whatever. Now, if you're playing Pugs or matchmaking, at lower levels, you won't necessarily see the Moto smoke, but you're going to start seeing it more and more the higher you go. So if you're playing Arch, you're going to have to figure out what you want to do through the smoke. If you still have utility, obviously you can throw utility there. But at the end of the day, you're just going to get smoked out, or you have to timing and push the smoke and try to catch someone off guard over here. And if you're rotating to B, and you should be the first rotator to B, you're probably going to be smoked out in CT as well. If you try to go coffin, you're probably going to be smoked out against, coordinated teams. So really, it's a tough job, but you just gotta find the way to get the most impact through smokes. If you're coming to B, you can late boost someone here. That's usually one of your good ideas, or one of your better ideas. Aside from that, try to stall with flashes, maybe throw a molly to stall the T's. As an Arch player, get ready to fight through smokes, or get smoked off and not be able to do too much about it. I think one of the biggest skill sets of playing as an Arch player is actually going to be being able to play behind smokes, understanding where the T's are based off of their sound cues, and being able to spam them efficiently. As a porch player, pay attention to when T's are jumping into window. People are getting smarter about jumping into window. They're not doing this thing anymore where they run on the railing. What you can do is just hop on the barrel, hop on the sledge, and do that. You can actually do most of this pretty quietly, and you should be able to get onto that balcony if I can do this right for once in my life. So you can just make one step, and it's going to be hard for CTs to know if you're really in window or not. Now, if you fall back for sight and you want to throw flashes into mid, you can just throw some utility off the wall like that. Ideally, you want to aim in between where these two windows are, so something along the lines of this, or even you can aim lower and do the same idea, right? But that's the general lineup if you're behind default, to kind of stall people out if they've taken mid from you. Also, if you're falling back, be wary of this slit right here. Same thing for the arch player, be wary of that slit. And once you're on porch, or if you've fallen back from porch, good spots to play. You can play side of ninja, top of ninja. This gets pre-fired pretty often, so it's not the best spot. And you can actually get spammed through this wall right here. So keep that in mind. The exact lineup is like somewhere around here or something, so do worry about that. This is a common off angle, although it's becoming less of an off angle because people are playing it so much. This is an angle. This is a really weird angle where you can like not get spotted by a T coming in unless they cross the default. You can play center sight like this. This is a weird one as well. And you can play behind default. Relatively common. Now, I haven't talked about the apartments player, and the reason is that I want to really dial in this point. The apartments player is one of the most critical pieces of the CT defense. If you lose your apartments player, you lose a lot of the A site, or a lot of this general mid and A site area. And the reason for that is, let's say I'm here and I get picked as a CT, I die. Now all of a sudden my porch player is like, oh no, my apartments player died, I need to pick it up. I can't stay here because then they can push apartments. So I need to fall back, right? Whether it's to site or to pit or whatever. Now my arch player is like, oh, if my porch player is falling back because my apartments player died, I need to fall back too. I don't want to fight mid by myself. Also because I can't reliably watch boiler come out and mid at the same time. So I need to fall back to like Moto, library, spawn arch. You know, I need to fall back. And now you've just lost top mid because you died in apartments. If you do decide to play one arch and one somewhere on the A site, you're playing on two very separated islands, so to speak, and you're basically playing 2v1 or 3v1 twice, and that's not very solid of a setup. So you're gonna have to probably come site as an arch player and leave arch open, knowing telling the B players that arch is open, and that can cause a lot of problems too because they can arch wrap you, and that can, you know, really mess you up, especially with smokes here and here. More often than not, I'll just straight up play some angle like this or like this, you know, so like here or like here, just to throw them off. One off angle I like playing is right here, assuming you have control of mid and they're not up there. Aside from that, knowing how to play big pit is going to be one of your key tools in holding A defense, in holding the A bomb site in general, not just from apartments, but from lane as well. As you can see, I'm standing on the bike. I can get a visual onto porch, and I can isolate apartments, so I can only be seen from apartments, and then do this. If you still have your smoke, if you can hold on to your smoke, you can stay alive for an insanely long time, and you can throw a smoke right there, and this causes a lot of problems for T's, because all that's really going to happen is like a molly maybe lands perfectly in the corner, but then you can still hide in the smoke and play like here. And basically, it makes it really hard for you to be cleared because people coming out of apartments, they need to worry about literally everything else from like mini pit, all of site, moto, and I guess graveyard too, before they can clear you. And same goes for the lane players or the porch players. They can't really clear you without clearing site and mini and balk first. And that's a huge pain in the ass if you're a T. There are going to be very, very rare situations where you're still alive in big pit, but the T's planted the bomb. And if you realize this happens as a pit player, you really, really need to, like, not necessarily go for fights, but you need to get information on where the T's are while staying alive as best you can, because there's a lot of angles that, you know, you can die from. If your rotates aren't fast enough, you will get cleared. So being able to stay alive here is really important and somewhat difficult, but very, very doable. So anyway, thanks for watching the CT Inferno primer. Next map will be... Great question. I'm thinking Vertigo or Nuke, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching, and like the video if you liked the video.